Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shelter Game. I can synthesize infinitely. Chapter 31. Boom. Bai Yi twisted around, and the fireball technique passed by him, creating a large charred pit on the ground. But Bai Yi did not relax his vigilance because heavy footsteps sounded. He looked up and saw that the butcher had already rushed over with a quick step, holding a large knife stained with minced meat in his hand, and slashed down with a roar. The sound of the knife roared, extremely sharp. Damn, so fast. Fortunately, I'm not slow either. Bai Yi raised the corner of his mouth and controlled the character to dodge the knife as if he was flying. Then he slashed out with his backhand, leaving a deep wound on the butcher's body. Blood spurts. The wound turned pitch black at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the flesh and blood festered. At the same time, blood flowed continuously. The effect of rotting Thai sword has been triggered. The butcher suddenly roared, as if he felt the discomfort coming from the wound, and rotated the knife, like a whirlwind slashing horizontally. It was so powerful that even the hard stone pillars were easily split open like foam. Bai Yi distanced himself in advance, so he avoided it. But the next moment, the dog's head on the butcher's head opened its mouth wide, and a fireball shot out, burning fiercely. Slow, too slow, ha ha ha. Bai Yi laughed and dodged easily. With the blessing of Qingfeng boots, as long as it is not close to the face, dodging fireballs is not easy. But before Bai Yi could be happy for too long, he saw the butcher's other head suddenly spurting out a ball of dark green venom. Damn, you still have this trick. Bai Yi almost didn't react, but luckily he was agile enough and turned around again to avoid it. The venom fell to the ground and immediately corroded the ground. I didn't expect this butcher to be able to do combos. Bai Yi was secretly shocked. Obviously butchers are all brainless fools, but this butcher is a bit smart. But fortunately, he can solve it. Taking a deep breath, Bai Yi continued to struggle with the butcher. He did not use the divine flame technique, but kept looking for opportunities, wielding the rotten sword, leaving rotten and bleeding wounds on Tian's body. Although the butcher feels no pain and does not affect its actions, it does not mean that there is no harm, it is just a short chance of a fatal blow. Bai Yi struggled with the butcher for a few minutes, and there were more than a dozen deep wounds on the butcher's body. With a roar, the butcher went completely berserk, seemed a little irritated, and became impatient. He rushed over with a big knife, but due to too many wounds, scarlet bloodstains were left on the ground wherever he passed. That's it, just die. Bai Yi took a deep breath, raised his hand, and the golden white flame suddenly condensed and burned fiercely. Under his control, it flew towards the butcher and ignited the butcher's body in one fell swoop. Under the flames, the butcher's movements did not slow down at all, but instead sped up, like a bloody afterimage. Nima, are you still alive? Bai Yi's eyelids jumped at the sight, and he hurriedly stepped back to distance himself. But the butcher followed closely. There was a bang. The knife struck out, but Bai Yi managed to avoid it, splitting a deep crack into the ground. Divine Flame Technique. Bai Yi waved his hand and released again. The flames turned into fiery snakes, coiled up, and set the butcher's entire body on fire. Blood, flesh, etc. are all being incinerated at a speed visible to the naked eye. The butcher instantly became stiff. Dying. Bai Yi looked surprised. But the next moment I was stunned. The butcher just stiffened for a moment and then recovered. Although his movements were not as fast as before, he was still murderous. Is it necessary to be so meaty? Bai Yi had no choice but to continue to avoid. To be honest, it was fortunate that I had Qingfeng boots, otherwise it would be difficult to avoid the butcher's attack. It doesn't mean long range, but close combat. His seemingly bloated and fat body can swing a sword with terrifying speed. I can only say that today's synthesis is correct. Boom. The butcher's knife fell and instantly cut off a pillar. Under the incineration of the divine flame technique, the flesh and blood on his body was almost completely burned away, but the butcher still kept moving. It can be seen that although he is not dead, he is close to it. Just one final blow. Bai Yi reluctantly took out a bottle of magic potion and clicked to take it. The magic power is restored immediately. As expected of a butcher, the meat is real meat, but it's time to end. Go to hell. Bai Yi raised his hand and used the last divine flame technique, hitting the butcher. This time, the butcher could no longer hold on and fell to the ground with a bang, losing his life. Finally dead. Bai Yi also took a deep breath, shook off his aching hands, and rested. After resting for a minute or two, control the character to come to the butcher's corpse and click to collect it. Collection is successful. You get the butcher's heart. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket butcher's heart. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The special alchemical medicine made by the alchemist in order to make the butcher stronger is the source of the butcher's life. Although it has lost its original function, it can improve a person's physique after use. Close black lens bracket. It is indeed the longest battle I have experienced since playing the game. There are indeed good things, haha. Bai Yi chooses to use it directly. The butcher's heart turned into a ray of light and entered the character's body. In reality, Bai Yi's eyes widened. Immediately, I felt a warm current emerging from my body, flowing through my limbs and bones, forming a sense of warmth. Under this feeling, his body experienced a very obvious improvement. It lasts for 1 minute before ending. Cool. An excited smile appeared on Bai Yi's face, and he waved his fist subconsciously. The howling wind made him feel that his strength had about doubled. Not just strength, but other attributes as well, such as physique, speed. All in all, this wave of combat power has skyrocketed. This butcher's heart alone is far more valuable than the magic potion he just consumed. Not to mention there are 2 treasure chests and a rune next. This wave is a bloody profit, a huge profit. Bai Yi smiled even happier. I was so excited that I even wanted to hug the tiger cub and give him a kiss. That is to say, the tiger cub was in the shelter, so Bai Yi gave up. In the shelter, the tiger cub who was sleeping peacefully shivered inexplicably. As if he had a bad premonition, he subconsciously shrank into the tiger mother's arms. It was not until he was wrapped in the tiger mother's soft and dense fur that he felt a lot of pain, some warmth. Familiar with the power after some improvement. Bai Yi walked towards the front door. Arriving in front of the rune floating in the air, Bai Yi reached out and took it down with anticipation. A prompt immediately appeared on the screen. You obtain the Mage Skill Rune, Arcane Missile. Close black lens bracket. Mage Skill Rune, Arcane Missile. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Skill runes that can be used after obtaining the mage profession, and you can learn arcane missile skills. Close black lens bracket. Damn, what a magical skill. Seeing the introduction of the runes he obtained, Bai Yi looked surprised, and then looked ecstatic. Arcane Missile is one of the mage's basic attack skills. To be honest, the power is not even comparable to the fireball technique. But Bai Yi was also pleasantly surprised. Why? It's just like what he said, a magical skill. The main reason for this is that the mana consumption is really low. Use Fireball to compare. With Bai Yi's current magic power, he can cast Fireball 5 times in a row. But the magic power of casting a Fireball spell can be used to release arcane missiles 3 times. In other words, with Bai Yi's current magic power, he can release arcane missiles 15 times in a row without stopping. Although the power of arcane missiles is not as powerful as that of Fireball, it is not much weaker. However, Fireball is considered a group skill within a certain range because it will explode. The arcane missile is a single target. But in terms of power, the Screamer is enough to kill instantly with 1 hit. This is not a magical skill. What is a magical skill? Suffering from mana consumption, Bai Yi was clearly a mage before, but he always fought in close combat. What he didn't know was that he thought he was a warrior. Now that he has acquired this skill, Bai Yi can finally openly state that he is a Dharma master. After calming down the excitement in his heart, Bai Yi immediately crushed the rune. You have learned the skill, Arcane Missile. Close black lens bracket. A buzzing sound. Bai Yi released it tentatively once, and a white football-sized missile condensed and immediately blasted into the distance with a bang in a small crater. The power is pretty good. Bai Yi had a satisfied smile on his face. With arcane missiles, future exploration will be much easier. If you encounter enemies that are difficult to deal with melee weapons, you can use an arcane missile as your backhand. If you can't kill them with 1 shot, you can use another one. No more worrying about mana consumption. Thinking of this, Bai Yi couldn't help but have a happy smile on his face. However, Bai Yi didn't forget that there were 2 treasure chests, so he quickly gathered his thoughts and came to the black iron treasure chest. After rubbing his hands, he opened it. You opened the black iron treasure chest and obtained the dispersing lantern X1 and iron X100. Close black lens bracket. Dispel the lantern. Okay. Bai Yi touched his chin, thoughtfully. He already had a dispersing lantern. If it had been before, he would have sold it if he got the second one. But because of today's whimsical thought, he did not have this idea now. Instead, he decided to keep it and use it to synthesize it with the dispersing lantern he already equipped in the future. Combining two dispersion lanterns may produce unexpected effects. After putting them all in his backpack, Bai Yi came to the bronze treasure chest. This is the final harvest of this level. Bai Yi clasped his hands together and prayed. Goddess of luck, please bring me something good. Although it may be useless, I heard in my last life that there are still gods left in some worlds that have been cannibalized. What if my prayers can really be heard and bring me some good luck? After praying, Bai Yi reached out and opened the treasure box. Wow, light emerges. Immediately afterwards, a prompt appeared on the phone screen. You opened the bronze treasure chest, and you got talent upgrade card X1, ancient wood staff. Close black lens bracket. Oh my god, talent upgrade card, ancient wooden staff. Looking at the reward from the treasure box, Bai Yi was stunned on the spot. Although I hope in my heart that something good will come out. But I didn't expect it to actually come true, and two of them appeared at once. It took Bai Yi a while to come back to his senses. A delighted smile appeared on his face and he checked the information about the two rewards. Talent upgrade card. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. A special product of the Dark Land. After use, you can upgrade your talent once. Close black lens bracket. Ancient wooden staff. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The mage weapon made from the heart of a 1,000-year-old tree. Although it is old, it still has good magic conductivity due to proper maintenance. When using it to cast spells, the magic power is reduced by 1/10 and the power is increased by 10 points. 1. Close black lens bracket. Tisk, that's awesome, take off, haha. Bai Yi grinned and his smile became even wider. The former is what he has been thinking about for a long time. With this card, his talent can be upgraded and can be synthesized more times. As for the latter, as a mage, he has always lacked a handy staff. With this staff, he can cast spells more often and with greater power. Among the harvest at this level, Bai Yi originally thought that the butcher's heart would be the best reward, but now he discovered that it was far more than that. Bai Yi even doubted whether his previous prayer was really heard by the goddess of luck. Otherwise, how could my luck be so good? Whether Lady Luck is still alive or not, I am your loyal believer now. I hope you can have such good luck next time I open the treasure box. If not, then roll as far as you can. If you can't even satisfy the prayers of believers, who will believe in you? As a Daxia native, what I focus on is truth. Bai Yi didn't waste any time. He clicked on the backpack, found the talent card inside, and chose to use it. Used successfully, your talent has been upgraded. Close black lens bracket. Talent. Synthesis hand. You have the ability to synthesize any item, 5 times a day, and can be upgraded. Close black lens bracket. Ness. Bai Yi waved his fist subconsciously, looking happy. After the upgrade, the number increased twice. As a result, 2 additional compositions can be performed today. But Bai Yi didn't use it immediately. Because he had the ancient wooden staff, Bai Yi wondered if he would get the right materials later. If so, you must first synthesize the staff. In Bai Yi's view, improving real-time combat effectiveness is the most important thing. Everything else is behind this. Put away the sword and equip the staff. Bai Yi stood up and prepared to go to the next floor. The gains at this level made him look forward to the next level even more. But before leaving, he searched this floor. Although there may be no other gains on this level, Bai Yi decided to check it carefully in order to prevent any omissions. After confirming that there were no missing treasures, he came to the door and did the same thing as before when he opened the obsidian door. There was a boom. The door trembled, was slowly pushed away. What came into view was a dark staircase passage. Whoops! There was a sound of wind. Immediately afterwards, a bat as big as an adult flew over with flashing scarlet eyes and screamed at Bai Yi. Bat, you want to give me such a surprise as soon as you open the door. Bai Yi didn't recognize what kind of monster it was. After all, There were too many worlds integrated in the Dark Land, and there were too many types of monsters, and he didn't recognize them all. However, his combat power has just received a wave of improvement, and Bai Yi is full of confidence at this moment. Holding the staff high, Bai Yi did not use the arcane missile he had just obtained, but directly used the divine flame technique. Boom! Golden white flames condensed on the staff, and flew toward the bats like a chain, starting from each bat and linking all the bats. In an instant, all the bats were engulfed in flames. A sea of golden white fire seemed to be burning in the midair above the head. It was dazzling and very spectacular and eye-catching at the same time. Under the burning of the blazing divine flames, these bats were burned to death one by one, turning into charred corpses and falling to the ground. In just 3 or 4 breaths, more than 20 bats were all dead. Bai Yi's staff shook the ground and smiled proudly. HMPH, vulnerable. So spicy. Is this the happiness of Master? He finally experienced it today. Although there is still not much magic power, with the blessing of the ancient wooden staff, it is easy for him to cast the divine flame technique once. The corners of Bai Yi's mouth raised, and his happiness was self-evident. But the exploration must continue. Bai Yi came to a bat corpse, waved his hand, and started collecting. Collection is successful. You obtained blood bright sand X1. Close black lens bracket. Quote? Bloody sand. Bai Yi's mouth twitched slightly. He didn't know what effect this thing had, but he knew lumming sand. Isn't this stuff the shit of a bat? Bai Yi knew that luminous sand had the effect of curing night blindness. I just don't know what the use of this bloody sand is. Open black lens bracket Schwemmingsha. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The excrement of blood bats has certain medicinal effects and is one of the materials for some kind of vision-enhancing medicine. Close black lens bracket. Ha! Seeing the introduction, Bai Yi raised his eyebrows slightly, and a glint suddenly flashed in his eyes. The blood-bright sand looks like some of the junk I collected before and has little effect. But in fact, Bai Yi feels that this thing seems to be very useful. Of course, the premise is that you can find the formula for the vision-enhancing potion mentioned in the introduction. Because after darkness falls, it is definitely not good to go out and explore the view. If there is really a potion, there is absolutely no need to worry about selling it. It's a pity that I don't have the recipe. However, Bai Yi decided to keep it for now so that he might be able to use it later. Shaking his head, Bai Yi walked towards the bottom of the stairs. In the dim staircase, the sound of wind continued. This is not the real sound of wind, but the sound of flying blood bats. Bai Yi looked calm and held the staff, ready to cast spells at all times. Sometimes when I see blood bats, I won't take action immediately, but keep dodging. Wait until the number of blood bats increases, and then use the divine flame technique to destroy them all at once. Therefore, a lot of Schwemming sand was collected along the way. Because I was afraid of encountering a trap, I walked cautiously for about a quarter of an hour before finishing the stairs, and a dark passage appeared in front of me. This should be the next level. Bai Yi is not sure how many layers the pyramid has, but if it is really a ruin, there must be treasures on this layer. Of course, there are certainly pitfalls and dangers. So Bai Yi still remained vigilant. After tentatively throwing an arcane missile forward, and confirming that there were no traps on the road in front of him, Bai Yi boldly walked forward. But what he didn't expect was that as soon as he took the first step, Bai Yi felt his feet go weak. He looked down suddenly and saw that the stone slab under his feet had dented. Depend on. Bai Yi's mouth twitched, and he immediately had a bad feeling. Really? Boom boom. Just hear a huge sound coming from the front. The ground also seemed to be shaking. Immediately afterwards, a huge rolling stone appeared in Bai Yi's field of vision, rolling at an extremely fast speed with a terrifying impact. I knew it. Bai Yi held his forehead and looked helpless. He immediately waved his staff without hesitation and used the divine flame technique to fly towards the rolling stone. Bang! The rolling stone was engulfed in golden white flames, but it did not have any impact on it, and it still crashed into it mercilessly. The rolling stone should be made of some special stone and has a certain resistance to magic. Bai Yi gritted his teeth and cast the spell again. But it still can't stop the rolling stone's actions. Seeing the rolling stone getting closer, Bai Yi sighed. Since you can't resist, then face it bravely. Don't lose style. With this idea in mind, Bai Yi put away his staff and spread his hands. Boom. Open black lens bracket, you are dead. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the prompt that popped up on the phone screen that turned scarlet, Bai Yi had a pained expression on his face. I can only say that I still underestimated the traps in the ruins. I thought I was strong enough to deal with it, but now it seems that I am just overthinking it. As for the rolling stone just now, luckily I wasn't really inside it, otherwise there would be only a dead end and I wouldn't even have the ability to avoid it. The reason is also very simple. The moment he stepped on the trap, he saw that the stairs behind the character had disappeared. It's not that it disappeared, but it shrank, leaving a deep pit with no end in sight, leaving him with no way out. Obviously, unless you have strong strength to directly smash the rolling stone, there is only a dead end. Fortunately, I explored it in the game. Bai Yi felt lucky at this time. Although he can't continue playing the game today, at least he has gained a lot today, which makes him satisfied. At worst, we can just wait until tomorrow to continue. It just so happens that I'll synthesize the dispersing lantern first. Bai Yi shook his head, opened the backpack, found the dispersing lantern inside, then removed the lantern equipped on the character, and clicked to combine the two lanterns. Suddenly, a light appeared. Then a prompt popped up. The synthesis is successful and you get the Lantern of Hope. Close black lens bracket. Hope to hold the lantern. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. A lantern containing the fire of hope. The flame inside it burns blazingly and will never go out. The light it emits can dispel the shrouding black fog and increase the visibility by 3 meters. Somehow, some wanderers in the darkness can feel the guidance of hope and come to you. Close black lens bracket. Wish for a lantern. Damn it, is the effect so strong? Looking at the instructions on the screen, Bai Yi suddenly opened his eyes wide with a shocked expression. The previous dispersal lantern only increased visibility by 1 meter. The synthesized Lantern of Hope directly reached 3 meters. Certainly, what concerned Bai Yi the most was undoubtedly the final introduction. This lantern can actually attract wanderers from dark places. Doesn't this mean that with such a lantern in hand, a steady stream of wanderers will take the initiative to look for themselves in the future, without having to look for them themselves? You're so awesome. Thinking of this, Bai Yi couldn't help but have an excited smile on his face. As a reborn person, he knows the importance of being a wanderer. In the power of darkness, it is impossible for you to wander without any strength, and you will have died in the hands of monsters long ago. Anyone who can wander in the dark land and is still alive has some unique abilities. The worst is a level 2 extraordinary professional. Like Bai Yi is now at level 1. And most of these wanderers still carry the hope of inheritance. What does that mean? Take the wandering elves in the dark land as an example. Looks like he might be alone. But in fact, it is possible that there is still a tree of life in the hand, just waiting to find a suitable place to plant it and make the elves prosperous again. This includes angels, demons, etc. Of course, this is still very rare. But in addition, there are more or less skills at hand. Winemaking, pharmaceuticals, forging, tailors and so on. A shelter is indispensable for homeless people to live comfortably. If you want to develop and grow, it is also indispensable. It's a pity that the lantern came at the wrong time. Bai Yi said with deep regret. After all, it is a natural disaster period in the game now. And it's a flood. It was impossible for any wanderer to come to him at this time. So we can only wait until the natural disaster is over. Thinking of this, Bai Yi shook his head, hoping that the natural disaster would pass quickly. Then, equip the Lantern of Hope and start the next synthesis. Although the talent has been upgraded, there is only one synthesis opportunity left today. Bai Yi wanted to use this last synthesis number on the staff he just got. After all, the effect of the staff is very strong. It allows Bai Yi to use the Divine Flame technique, the strongest attack method at present, with less consumption and enhanced power. When it is not clear when he will get a new staff, the weapon may stay with Bai Yi for a long time. In this case, it is better to synthesize it first to make it stronger. As for synthetic materials, Bai Yi actually also has ideas. That is to use magic potion. Although the potion doesn't look like a material that can be synthesized, you still have to try it, just in case there are unexpected surprises. Thinking of this, Bai Yi rubbed his hands expectantly, immediately opened his backpack and made a selection. Magic potion plus ancient wood staff. Close black lens bracket. Click compose. Ding. A reminder immediately appeared in front of me. The synthesis is successful. You have obtained the magic staff. Close black lens bracket. Magic staff. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The mage weapon made from the heart of a 1,000-year-old tree. Although it is old, it still has good magic conductivity due to proper maintenance. When using it to cast spells, the magic power is reduced by 1/10 and the power is increased by 10 points. 1. After being soaked in magic power, additional effects were obtained. Close black lens bracket. Attached skill. Magic source once a day, can restore all magic power. Nice. I knew there would be a surprise, ha ha ha. Looking at the effect of the combined staff on the screen, Bai couldn't help laughing, his face full of excitement. Although it only has an extra skill and can only be used once a day, it is definitely the current artifact. If other players see it, they will even become jealous and their eyes will turn red. After all, this is about restoring all the magic power. In Bai's hands, it was enough for him to cast the Divine Flame technique 2 more times. And these 2 Divine Flame techniques are enough to play a crucial role at certain moments. This shows the importance of this skill. Moreover, this skill is only obtained with a bottle of magic potion. Although magic potion is also very important to Bai, it is only a one-time use. This skill is only available once a day. To put it simply, this wave of synthesis will make you money. After a long time, Bai calmed down, materialized the staff into reality, held it in his hand and waved it. The previous staff was made of black wood and didn't look good at all. After synthesis, even the appearance has been beautified. Not only did it turn golden brown, the staff also had stripes of dark blue patterns that looked like the sea, which looked very beautiful. Not bad, very good, haha. The more Bai looked at it, the more he liked it, which meant that it was not convenient to cast spells in reality, otherwise he would try it now. Pity. Shaking his head, Bai put it away. Today the game journey has come to an end. Bai closed the game and opened the forum. Prepare to acquire some tainted blood next. No, perhaps exchange is more appropriate. He planned to use some of his unnecessary materials in exchange for contaminated blood. For example, corruptor's venom, bones, etc. In addition, the poisonous arrows obtained in the ruins can be traded. In the forum, Bai also saw many people purchasing materials today. Behind the scenes, some big forces are obviously trying to use in-game materials to forge equipment. These materials are currently useless in Bai's hands. I originally wanted to save it for later, to see if I could learn extraordinary techniques, or recruit wandering craftsmen and use them. But because of the Kling Xuanjin, he planned to trade it out in exchange for some contaminated blood. Taking advantage of the current flood period in the game, there are a lot of deep divers, and players can more or less encounter and kill them. This is a good time period to collect contaminated blood. If you wait for this period of time and want to trade for contaminated blood, it will be hard to say. More importantly, in Bai's opinion, contaminated blood has little effect on other players. After all, this thing is obviously not a forging material, and it is not suitable for brewing potions. It also occupies one space when placed in a backpack. If other materials can be exchanged, many players will definitely be willing. And as long as you have enough contaminated blood, you can slowly synthesize more Kling Xuanjin in the future. When darkness falls and players experience the fear brought by the spirit body, the value of Kling Xuanjin will definitely skyrocket. Although doing so may give other players the same effect as their own shelter's first evolution. But to put it bluntly, Kling Xuanjin is not a very powerful special metal after all, even if other players have the same effect as their own shelter for the first evolution. Bai was able to take this opportunity to obtain more precious items and synthesize more precious materials. That is Kling Xuanjin. In the future, Bai will naturally not trade some materials with truly powerful effects. Thinking of this, Bai was going to post a post in the forum. But the next second, he stopped again and found the ids of Wangxi and Nimeng among the forum friends. 111111. Do you want to collect materials? I have some unnecessary ones that I can trade to you. After sending the message, Bai raised the corners of his mouth and smiled. When you collect something at the forum, you still have to wait for the courier to come to your door. But it's hard for Wang Si to deal with these two people. As an official member, Nimeng has a huge official power behind him. The amount of contaminated blood is definitely not small. And it's also in the Magic City. It can be delivered directly to your door, so you don't have to wait long. After waiting for a long time, neither of them responded. It seemed that they were either busy or in the middle of a game. After Bai Yi checked the time, he put down his phone, prepared lunch, and went out to buy some supplies, as well as some materials that needed to be used to transform the shelter after darkness fell. Such as wires, circuit boards, etc. If nothing else, Bai Yi's future shelter will definitely have some electrical appliances from modern society. After all, as a modern person, if there are no electrical appliances in the shelter, you will also suffer. Things like refrigerators, air conditioners, etc. are even more indispensable for modern people. Even after darkness falls, if he didn't prepare some heating equipment in advance, Bai Yi wouldn't dare to imagine the scene when the snow disaster comes. In his last life, he was not prepared in advance, which caused him to huddle in bed all the time, and even so, he was still shivering. It was only later that I built a fireplace, which made it warmer, but I didn't dare to stay away from the fireplace. And just buying firewood cost him a lot of resources. After resurrecting his life, Bai Yi would naturally not make such a mistake again. After preparing lunch, Bai Yi also summoned the tiger mother and tiger cubs to enjoy a delicious lunch together while taking his mobile phone and scrolling through posts in the forum. At this time, a ding-dong sound, mobile phone vibration. Someone on the forum responded to his message. Daxia. What material? Eyes sparkling. 111111. Of course it's ordinary materials, such as corruptor's acid. Daxia. That's all. 111111. Why do you look so disappointed? Otherwise, what did you think it was? Daxia. Hey, didn't you give the impression that you were a big shot before? I thought the big shot would be good, but I didn't expect it to be ordinary materials. Of course I was disappointed. 111111. I think too much. I am not a big boss, I am just an ordinary player. In front of the screen, Nimeng rolled his eyes and thought to himself that I would only believe what you said before the market day. Now, guess whether I believe it or not. 111111. Stop talking about this, do you want it over there? Daxia. Yes, why don't you want it? No matter how much you want, I will eat it all. 111111. Okay, big appetite, but I don't need cash. Daxia. No cash, what do you want? Other materials. 111111. Absolutely, and it shouldn't be of any use to you. It's just contaminated blood, how about it? Contaminated blood. Nimeng looked startled, then his eyes flickered, he touched his chin and began to think carefully. Nowadays, there are floods in the game, and there are a lot of deep divers. As a material that can be obtained by collecting deep divers, the name of contaminated blood is naturally familiar to her. I remembered it as soon as I heard it. But she's not a fool. Although this material is indeed of no use to her, even the official side has not found any use at present. But since Bai Yi needs it, it means that the contaminated blood must have its effect. It's just that I and others don't know. Wait a moment, I'll ask the leader. After Nimeng sent a message, he got up and went to Wang Zhengguo's office and told Bai Yi the contents of the transaction. After hearing this, Wang Zhengguo pondered for a while and said, if he wants it, just make a deal with him. Okay. Nimeng didn't waste any words, nodded and agreed. Wang Zhengguo asked with a smile. Don't you ask why? Why ask? Nimeng rolled his eyes and said annoyed. I'm not a fool. Although I know Bai Yi needs this thing, it means it has unknown uses, but so what? It has nothing to do with us. Quote. Even if we don't sell it, other players will definitely sell it. It's not like they will only contact us. Ha ha ha, you have become a lot smarter. Hearing this, Wang Zhengguo laughed loudly and nodded in agreement. Everyone knows that Bai Yi needs contaminated blood, and he must have found a use for it. But as Nimeng said, it has nothing to do with them, so naturally they won't do anything in this regard. What does it mean to become smarter? I've always been smart, okay. Nimeng curled his lips, feeling unhappy with Wang Zhengguo's words. But now that she had the leader's approval, she turned back to her office and replied to Bai Yi. Daxia. I've asked, I can trade you with contaminated blood, but you can't exchange a drop of acid for a drop of contaminated blood, right? 111111. What kind of trading method do you want? Daxia. 1 drop of tainted blood in exchange for 3 copies of the corruptor's venom. 111111. Impossible, at most 1 copy. No, 2 portions. 1 share, at most 1 share, otherwise I will suffer a great loss. That. The two discussed on the forum for a long time. It took an hour before the transaction amount was confirmed. Baiyi emptied all the materials in the bag and exchanged about 200 drops of contaminated blood from the Night Watch branch. In addition to Baiyi's own possession, the number of contaminated blood is almost close to 300. After that, Ni Meng came to do the transaction in person. After the transaction ended, it was almost evening. At this time, Wang Sikai replied to Baiyi's message. This guy is a gamer himself. After coming out of Dark Asylum, he stopped even playing as an internet celebrity. He stayed in the game every day. Even if the game character died, he still chose to play the game and look in his backpack from time to time, materials or something. In short, I was completely immersed in it and couldn't bear to look away. That's why it was so late to reply to Baiyi's message. Wang Si. Hey, does the boss also want to sell materials? Yes, of course he does. 111111. 111111. It has been sold a long time ago. Your reply to this message must be too late. Wang Si. Ahem, isn't this a bit addicted to games? Moreover, due to the floods in the past 2 days, a mountain near my shelter collapsed. I just found a building inside and kept exploring inside. Hehe. I also got a lot of good things. 111111. What? Did you get professional runes? Wang Si. That's not true, but I got a skill rune, hehe. 111111. I understand, are you here to show off? Wang Si. That's not the case, haha. The main thing is to ask the boss if you have any weapons. It's best to get a bow. The skills I got are related to bows and arrows. Bow. Baiyi's eyes lit up and he raised the corners of his mouth. Fortunately this is not the case. 111111. I don't have a bow, but I have a lot of arrows. Do you need them? Wang Si. Arrows. I don't have a bow. What do I need arrows for? 111111. It's silly. Given the authenticity of this game, as long as you have the materials, you can try to make it by hand. The same goes for arrows. But how troublesome are the arrows? You can only make 1 at a time. You can't make many better iron arrows in 1 day. What a waste of time. I will sell them to you directly, which will save you the trouble of making them yourself in the future. Wang Si was stunned for a moment, and then thought about it. It seemed right. He nodded and agreed immediately. Wang Si. What the boss said is true. Then I want these arrows. I wonder how much the boss will cost. 111111. There are 300 arrows in total. Each arrow is made of iron and is poisonous. In addition, these arrows can be recycled, not disposable, so I will charge you 1,000 yuan for each arrow. But share it. Wang Si. It's not excessive, it's reasonable. Wang Si. The money has been transferred. I will go to your place to get the arrows now. 111111. Okay, I'll wait for you to come. As his phone vibrated and he looked at the 300,000 yuan that had arrived, Baiyi was amazed. These second-generation rich people are really rich. Someone actually bought an arrow worth 1,000 yuan. It was so terrifying. Fortunately, the person selling the arrows is myself. That would be a bit flattering. Baiyi was relieved to have earned another 300,000 yuan. Although I had made a lot of real currency before, because I had purchased a lot of materials that would be used to renovate the shelter in the future, I was running out of money. Today I only have a few 100,000 left in my card. It seems like a lot, but with the speed at which Baiyi spends money these days, it can't last for more than a few days. Fortunately, Wang Si, a second-generation rich man, happened to be short of arrows, allowing himself to earn hundreds of thousands more. At 6:30 in the evening, Wang Sikai came to Baiyi's house. Wang Si asked eagerly after taking the arrow from Baiyi and putting it into his backpack. Boss, do you have any equipment today? ? Baiyi rolled his eyes and said angrily. No, where did I get the equipment? Boss, please don't fool me, I've asked about it. What did you ask about? Seeing that Bai Yi still didn't admit it, Wang Si whispered. I spent a lot of money to inquire about it. I know that your talent is related to forging equipment. Even the night watchman has guessed it, so there is no need for you to hide it. Me, talent for forging equipment. Did the night watchman even guess it? Yes. Hiss. Bai Yi took a deep breath and felt a little confused for a moment. Is your talent related to forging equipment? How come I don't know this myself? But it was only for a moment that Bai Yi reacted, scratched his head and said helplessly. I don't know what talent you are talking about. Anyway, I haven't gotten much equipment recently. Understood. Wang Si nodded and understood instantly. Boss, I still want to keep a low profile. Thinking about it, at this time, no one has ever heard of anyone having the talent to forge equipment. All players' talents are basically related to combat, or have bonuses to skills. As far as he knew, Bai Yi was the only one who had the talent to forge equipment. This level of rarity is comparable to a national treasure. It is no exaggeration to say that if this were revealed, it might attract the attention of many criminals. If I were a big boss, I would definitely want to keep a low profile, so that only a few people would know. As for what the boss said, there is currently none. Wang Si also instantly understood that Bai Yi had been exploring the game these 2 days and hadn't built much equipment. After all, he himself was like this and understood immediately. Next time the boss builds the equipment, remember to contact me as soon as possible. Whether it's cash or in-game material transactions, I can do it. Next time, definitely next time. Boss, this is what you said, I remember it. Don't worry, that's for sure. Hey, that's fine, I'm leaving. Goodbye, boss. After receiving Bai Yi's exact answer, Wang Si showed a satisfied smile before turning and leaving. Bai Yi, on the other hand, twitched the corner of his mouth slightly and returned to the room to sit on the bed with a complicated expression. Although he was a little confused at first, Bai Yi's mind turned quickly and he instantly guessed the reason for all this. Perhaps it was because he took out too much equipment that the night watchman speculated that his talent was related to forging equipment. And through the night watchman, it was revealed and Wang Sixui learned the news. Is there any harm to Bai Yi from this matter? There must be some. A very simple point is that there are basically no auxiliary talents. He is the only one. The rarer something is, the more precious it is. How much more so in such an extraordinary game? So once exposed, Bai Yi will definitely be targeted. Maybe there will be some criminal organizations who want to kidnap Bai Yi to work for them. But if you want to talk about whether there are any benefits, there are actually some. First of all, apart from this speculation, no one will know Bai Yi's true talent from now on, and no one will guess what his talent is. Secondly, after everyone has this guess, no matter how much equipment he takes out, it will be a matter of course, and there is no need to worry about other things. In a word, there are good and bad. It's just that the good side is not as big as the bad side. But Bai Yi can also accept it. But this way, I can get along with other players as a blacksmith in the future. Bai Yi touched his chin and thought to himself. Another advantage of having this identity seems to be that I can start taking jobs. In the future, I might be able to use this as an excuse to help other players synthesize some extraordinary equipment and earn some extraordinary materials. After all, if nothing else, I'll help you build an extraordinary piece of equipment and only charge you one piece of equipment material. Isn't that excessive? No, you can't ask for one material, at least 3. Even so, it's not too much, right? After all, with his talent, as long as the materials are in place, it is very simple to synthesize extraordinary equipment. And extraordinary equipment is very precious. Apart from anything else, in his last life, Bai Yi remembered that many people did not have extraordinary equipment, and most of them relied on thermal weapons to fight. It was only after 3 months of darkness that the number of people gradually increased. Therefore, someone will definitely accept the value of the 3 special materials. Thinking of this, Bai Yi couldn't help but smile on his face. If you think about it this way, it seems quite profitable. If it is really possible, based on the 5 synthesis opportunities I have, if I don't do anything else in one day, I will have 15 special materials. Absolutely profitable. Of course, this is just a thought. He couldn't waste all the synthesis times here, he also needed to use it. Moreover, This kind of thing is not known yet, and everything will be discussed in the future. Shaking his head, Bai Yi looked at the time and came to the kitchen to prepare dinner. That night, Bai Yi went to bed very early. The next day, at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sky was still dark. Bai Yi opened his eyes drowsily, yawned, subconsciously picked up his phone and checked the time, and then the bright light on the phone screen made him wake up completely. Because I went to bed very early yesterday, I woke up early today, and when I woke up, I was very energetic and not sleepy. Bai Yi put the pillow up, leaned his back against the wall, and stroked the soft hair of the tiger cub in his arms with one hand. He held his mobile phone and opened the short video app out of curiosity. He wanted to see if there was any news about the game on the internet. After some searching, it was confirmed that it was not available. It seems that the officials are very decisive in suppressing this kind of news. Bai Yi murmured, but then he shook his head. Thinking about it, I only heard the news about this game after darkness fell in my last life. The official probably had no intention of revealing it. Even if I had an idea, it would not be within this month. Under normal circumstances, it might take a year or two. It's a pity that no one will know that darkness will fall just 1 month later. After turning off the short video software, Bai Yi entered the anonymous forum as usual, intending to browse the posts for a while, then wash up, have breakfast, and then start today's game. But he didn't expect that as soon as he clicked into the forum, a post came into view that made his face change slightly. Brothers, it's over. I feel like I won't be able to play games in the next few days. Close double angle bracket. Pay attention, what I said is not that I can't play the game due to personal reasons, but that everyone may not be able to play the game. I don't know if any of you have played the game today. Anyway, I went to bed early yesterday, so I got up very early and entered the game as soon as I got there. As soon as I entered the game, I found that my shelter was flooded. Although the flooding has been going on for several days, you should know that my shelter is located at a high place, but it was still flooded today. The water level is obviously rising, and many places that I could see before are also flooded. The most important thing is that there are more and more monsters. Judging from the amount of precipitation in the game, as long as the rain in the game doesn't stop, the amount of water will continue to rise. That's why I said I'm afraid I won't be able to play games in the next few days. After all, in this environment, you can't get out even if you want to explore. I'm attaching a few screenshots from the game for everyone to take a look at. Below the post, there are 3 pictures. The raging flood swallowed everything. As the waves crashed, corners of submerged mountaintops were exposed in many places. Bai Yi couldn't help but widen his eyes with shock. The floods have reached horrific proportions. Even the mountains were submerged. Like the legendary world-destroying flood. If this is the case, I'm afraid I won't be able to play the game anymore. Bai Yi murmured. Without hesitation, he hurriedly opened the game, controlled the character to come to the watchtower and looked in the direction of the pyramid ruins. Really, although he had expected it, Bai Yi still showed a disappointed expression when he saw that the place where the ruins were originally was empty. The ruins were also submerged. Moreover, many monster figures flashed past in the flood, jumping like a school of fish in the deep sea. It's so densely packed that it makes people nervous to see it. You can't go out. I'll probably have to stay in a shelter for the next few days. Bai Yi sighed helplessly. Turning off the game, Bai Yi continued to browse the forum, looking through the posts as usual. As more and more players woke up, they also discovered the situation in the game and complained in the forum. You were so excited to play the game, but you told me you couldn't play it. Veteran players obviously understand that feeling. Fortunately, Bai Yi doesn't have such troubles. Although the game cannot be played, it can still be synthesized. After getting up, washing up, and having breakfast, Bai Yi started today's synthesis. First, 3 pieces of Kelling Xuanjin were synthesized, which made the number of synthesis today directly become 2. Kelling Xuanjin 2 plus 3. If all the synthesis times tomorrow are used to synthesize Kelling Xuanjin, then Bai Yi's shelter will be able to evolve tomorrow as expected. Thinking of this, Bai Yi couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth with an expectant smile. As for the remaining 2 synthesis times, Bai Yi took out 2 deep sea scales and prepared to synthesize them to see what he could get. Open black lens bracket deep C scales plus deep C scales close black lens bracket. Click compose. The synthesis is successful, you have obtained the reverse scale of the sea monster. Close black lens bracket. Sea monsters reverse scales. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Dragons have reverse scales, which will kill anyone who touches them. Some powerful sea monsters in the deep sea also have reverse scales, but they are far less powerful than the dragon's reverse scales, but their defensive power is not bad. Close black lens bracket. Rubbish. After taking a look at the introduction, Bai immediately pouted and threw it into his backpack without hesitation. It can be seen that synthesis is not 100% able to synthesize good things. Of course, this depends on what materials should be used to synthesize it. But I have to say that when the deep sea scales were superimposed and synthesized, the result was not as good as I expected, and one synthesis was wasted. But this is all necessary waste, and there is nothing we can do about it. Who makes every new synthesis an exploration of the unknown? Bai had expected it, and he was very calm, and took out 2 drops of contaminated blood with his backhand. He wanted to use the last number of synthesis times to synthesize this thing. After all, there are not many materials worth synthesizing in his hands at the moment. The example of contaminated blood with Kling Xuanjin makes Bai feel a little bit excited. Open black lens bracket tainted blood plus tainted blood close black lens bracket. Click compose. Bai immediately showed expectant eyes. The synthesis is successful, you have obtained thin dark blood. Close black lens bracket. Thin blood of darkness. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Originally the blood of the chaotic deep divers, after removing impurities, the pure dark energy was extracted and turned into precious dark blood. Although it is very thin, after taking it, people can obtain dark elements. Resistance. Close black lens bracket. Hey, polluted blood can actually be synthesized into this thing. Bai's eyes lit up, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Judging from the introduction alone, this thing works quite well. Allows people to gain resistance to dark elements. There is no improvement in combat power, but you must know that it is only synthesized with 2 drops of contaminated blood. The most important thing is that this is just thin blood of darkness. What if it is real blood of darkness? Thinking of this, Bai was excited and immediately had an idea. If you combine thin dark blood plus thin dark blood, you will definitely get a more precious treasure. The most important thing is that the number of synthesis times required will not be too many. It's a pity that today's synthesis time is gone. But it doesn't matter, it will be the same if we synthesize it tomorrow. Bai murmured, twisted his sore neck, and after moving his body, he got out of bed and came to the window. There was a crash. The curtains were drawn. The sky was overcast, accompanied by a steady drizzle. The sound of rain falling continuously made people feel subconsciously dull. It's raining in the game, and it's raining in reality. I don't know if there is any connection between the two. Maybe this is actually a reminder from the will of the earth to mankind. But the game has been released, wouldn't it be better to make an announcement? Bai couldn't understand that level of thinking, so he simply shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Instead of wasting time thinking about this, it's better to go back and take a nap. This is a good weather for sleeping. Bai murmured, raised the corners of his mouth, closed the curtains, and returned to the warm bed. The other side. Foreign. Dawn Organization Base. Boom. The sound of artillery fire kept coming from outside. Several blonde foreigners were huddled in a safe house, feeling the vibrations in the safe house, their faces full of anger. Fake. Are those guys in Daxia crazy? Damn, we just killed a few ordinary people, but those guys were so crazy that they attacked 5 of our bases in a row, and even found this place. What to do now? In the safe house, there are 3 blonde foreigners, who are also the 3 leaders of the Dawn Organization. The one who just spoke was the one sitting in the middle. After hearing his words, the expressions of the other 2 people suddenly darkened. Don't blame them for that. You must know that as a former mercenary organization, and later transformed into a new criminal organization mainly focused on players, basically all the money they earned as mercenaries was invested in it. For this reason, in many chaotic countries they have established bases and continue to recruit players through these bases. It can be said that they had a bright future. But everything was destroyed a few days ago. Everything starts from that country in the east. In addition to the fact that the Dawn organization itself also wants to obtain in-game materials by killing people, they also receive weapons support from certain countries. And promise that as long as they take action, they will be given a large bounty. This is the most important point, and it is also because of the support of certain countries that they dare to go to that country and obtain thermal weapons in that country. But what I didn't expect was that although they killed a few players, the people they sent out were all wiped out there. What's more important is that under Daxia's severe torture, their identities were confirmed and they launched an act of revenge against them. In just a few days, Daxia officials dispatched different special forces to operate simultaneously to pull out all their major bases. Even the last and most secretive base has been discovered. It can be said that in just a few days, the Dawn organization was almost crippled. And next, once they die here, the Dawn organization will disappear completely. The man on the left said with a gloomy expression. What else can I do? Of course I escaped, why don't I stay here and wait to die? This time Daxia sent an elite force. It is only a matter of time before they break through here. I don't want to stay and be buried. Hearing this, the man on the right gritted his teeth and said. York, no one wants to stay and be buried, but are you willing to just do nothing? This is our hard work, and now it's all destroyed. Then what do you want to do? York asked rhetorically. Don't you still want to take revenge and go back? Newt, don't be crazy, this is impossible. Of course I know it's impossible, but at least I can't give up. Newt glanced at the two people in front of him and said in a deep voice. The Dawn organization cannot disappear just like that. You should all know the importance of that mysterious game. Originally, we had the upper hand and had a bright future. But now, it's all gone. We can escape and start over, but it's too slow, too slow. The man sitting in the middle frowned, lit a cigarette and took a deep breath, then said impatiently. So, Newt, just tell me your plan. As long as you don't want to destroy the world, I can consider supporting you. Don't worry, I don't have any hatred for this world, and I don't want to destroy it. Newt grinned, took out 2 documents and threw them in front of them, and said. You probably haven't forgotten how the pair of people we sent to Daxia failed, right? Of course I won't forget it. York gritted his teeth and said angrily. A guy who was lucky enough to get extraordinary powers in the game. Without him, we wouldn't have failed. Wait, do you have thoughts about him? York asked, seeming to think of something and quickly flipping through the documents. The man sitting in the middle had already finished reading, with a look of shock on his face. It's unbelievable that this guy can actually build equipment in the game. Newt, are you sure this document is genuine? Certainly. Newt nodded and said seriously. Don't forget, we have developed several players in Daxia. One of them joined a guild and got to the middle level. His leader confirmed the authenticity of this news. I think you should understand what it means. That's right. Of course we understand. There were already excited smiles on their faces. York laughed even more and said, as long as we catch him and let him work for us, even if we start over, we will rise quickly. Ha ha ha, Newt, I have to say you brought us good news. Good. Newt nodded excitedly. As you think, as long as we capture him, we will be able to rise again. And on top of that, there's this thing, which I encountered in the game yesterday. Compared to that Daxia man, this is the foundation of our rise. With that said, Newt took out his phone and took out a statue from his game backpack. The two looked puzzled and curiously checked the statue's information. The next moment, their eyes suddenly widened. Heish. In the room, Bai Yi, who had just woken up from his sleep, sneezed and had a bad premonition for no reason. Strange, why did I sneeze so well? Did someone scold me? Bai Yi scratched his head, confused, but didn't think much about it. After checking the time, I got ready for lunch. If there are no games to play, just live a normal life. After all, days like this will no longer be experienced soon. In order to facilitate his own enjoyment in the future, Bai Yi also placed orders on Taobao to buy various game consoles and game cards. There are also some videos downloaded on the computer all the time. What about European and American action genres, Japanese and Korean addictive genres, etc.? Ahem. No way. When darkness falls, this thing is a rare commodity, so of course you have to prepare it in advance. Time flies. The day passed like this without any incident. The time has come on July 7th. A week has passed since Bai Yi was reborn. The next morning, Bai Yi still woke up very early. After yawning, Bai Yi got up and got busy. Wash up and prepare breakfast. Then I looked at the text message. Some of the items I ordered on Taobao had arrived, and I had to pick them up later. After eating breakfast, Bai Yi opened the game on his mobile phone and came to the observation tower immediately. Looking at the surging flood, Bai Yi was silent for a long time. The floods are higher today. Clearly, another day of no exploration. Fortunately, because the watchtower is high enough, there is no need to worry about the shelter being flooded. Shaking his head, Bai Yi controlled the character to return to the shelter and started today's synthesis. Don't say it. Today's 5 synthesis, Bai Yi is still a little confused. If they were all used to synthesize Kling Xuanjun, the shelter would be able to evolve for the first time today. But if they are all used to synthesize Keling Xuanjun, today's synthesis times will also be completely consumed. So Bai Yi gave up after thinking about it. Anyway, Sanctuary is not in a hurry to synthesize it now, so let's synthesize the contaminated blood first. Think of this. Bai Yi first used a chance to synthesize a thin drop of dark blood. Including yesterday's drop, Bai Yi has 2 drops. I wonder what these 2 drops of blood can be combined into. Bai Yi's eyes flashed and he didn't waste time. After making the selection, he clicked directly. The synthesis is successful. You have obtained the dark essence. Close black lens bracket. Dark essence. Bai Yi raised his eyebrows, surprised. I thought that after being synthesized, the thin dark blood would be synthesized into rich dark blood. It seems that he is overthinking. I just don't know what the effect will be. Bai Yi's eyes flashed with anticipation and he checked. Open black lens bracket dark essence. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The essence formed by the dark power extracted from the blood of darkness is filled with pure dark elemental power. After using it, you can randomly obtain a dark attribute skill each person can only use it once. Close black lens bracket. Damn, this effect is so strong. Bai Yi's eyes widened, his expression was shocked, and then he showed an expression of excitement. The thin dark blood, before synthesis can only enhance the dark attribute resistance. But after synthesis, the improvement turned out to be so huge. It can directly allow people to obtain a dark attribute skill. Although each person can only use it once, it is equivalent to a skill rune. And how rare the runes are, the players on the forum have a lot of say. From the launch of the game to the present, the number of players who have obtained skill runes is very small, at most 1%, and there may not be any yet. One can imagine the preciousness of skill runes. This also shows the importance of the dark essence in front of you. The most important thing is that this thing is synthesized. With the synthesis path, it means that Bai Yi can even be wholesaled. If word of this spreads, players around the world will probably go crazy. Fortunately, Bai Yi kept taking deep breaths and calmed down quickly. He has not yet been dazzled by the benefits. If this thing is exposed, first of all, it is certain that it will definitely bring him huge benefits. But equally, there are huge dangers. Even the officials of some countries are tempted. So Bai Yi quickly made up his mind. Dark essence, if you can, don't expose it. Occasionally, you can take out 1 or 2 and treat it as a reward from opening a treasure box to trade with other players. But too much won't work and will make people suspicious. It's best to only let your own people use it. For example, tiger mother and tiger cubs. Such as the wanderers recruited in the future. Of course, if he was strong enough, he wouldn't have to worry about this, but that's not the case yet. Shaking his head, Bai Yi stopped thinking about it, manifested the essence of darkness, and held it in his hand. It looks like a pure black round glass bead, so black that it can absorb even light like a black hole. Just the appearance alone makes people feel very mysterious and extraordinary. Bai Yi wanted to swallow it in one gulp. But after some hesitation, he chose to put it in his backpack for now. 2. Thin dark bloods can synthesize powerful dark essence, but what can 2 dark essences synthesize? Perhaps the synthesized one is not as useful as the dark essence. Or maybe the synthesized items are more effective than the dark essence. But you can give it a try anyway. Taking a deep breath, Bai Yi began to synthesize. There are only 3 synthesis times left today. So there is no need to think about synthesizing it today. Only one more dark essence can be synthesized. Then wait quietly for tomorrow. After doing this, Bai Yi is ready to log off. But at this moment, a rumble suddenly sounded. What is this sound? Listening to the direction, it seemed to be coming from the watchtower overhead. Is there a monster attacking the watchtower? Thinking of this, Bai Yi suddenly showed a solemn expression on his face, and immediately stood up and shouted. Tiger Mom, go back. Roar. The tiger mother who was playing with her tiger cub in the living room immediately responded, knowing that Bai Yi meant going back to the shelter. Although it didn't know what happened, it saw the expression on Bai Yi's face and nodded. Bai Yi took Tiger Mother back into the game, then controlled the character and led Tiger Mother straight to the top of the watchtower. Pushing open the door on the top floor, wind and rain came, washing away everything. Boom! The sound like a collision sounded again, accompanied by the roars of countless monsters. Bai Yi stood on a high place and looked down, with a look of shock on his face. Is there a ship? A seemingly ordinary wooden boat drifted to his shelter at some point. Driven by the raging floods, it kept crashing into the walls of the watchtower. This makes a crashing sound. At the same time, under Bai Yi's gaze, he could see many deep divers in the flood constantly rushing towards the ship, trying to climb up. However, there is a layer of blue light film covering the surface of the hull, blocking the approach of all dark creatures. There is actually a magic shield. Is there anyone else on board? Bai Yi murmured, showing hesitation. What to do? The tiger mother growled and asked Bai Yi. It also had a worried expression on its face. Bai Yi can understand why. The ship is close to the watchtower. If it is not solved, once the magic shield disappears and the deep divers get on the ship, they may use it to climb to the watchtower, thus bringing danger to the shelter. Although the deep divers are weak in strength, they are numerous in number. There are at least hundreds of them that can be seen at this moment, not to mention the dense shadows under the flood. Those are deep divers, but they can't be allowed to climb up to the watchtower, otherwise the thickness of the gate on the top floor may not be able to stop them. Therefore, after thinking about it for a while, Bai Yi made a decision. Tiger Mother, you watch from above and freeze all those monsters. I'll go down there. Are you crazy? You will die. Fine. Bai Yi shook his head and smiled. I said, I won't die. I can be resurrected, and I may not die. Just wait until the magic shield disappears and destroy the ship. The deep divers will naturally leave by then. Then it will be destroyed later. Why do you have to go down? Good question. Of course I'm going treasure hunting. Bai Yi licked his lips, excitement flashed in his eyes. Although dangerous, but this is a foreign ship. Not surprisingly, it is definitely not the players, but a ship built by the wanderers in the dark land. So he definitely had to go there in person. Not to mention whether the treasure can be found. If you can see a living wanderer, you will definitely make money. How could he miss such an opportunity? On the watchtower, after Bai Yi decided, he started taking action. Put down a rope so you can come up later. Immediately afterwards, Bai Yi grabbed the rope and jumped off the boat. Although there is a magic shield, this thing cannot protect him. This is a very special magic device, not magic itself. It will automatically activate when it senses hostility. So the moment Bai Yi touched the shield cracked and he successfully landed on the deck. With the appearance of Bai Yi, the surrounding deep divers roared and roared even more crazily. An ordinary person would probably be frightened when hearing this sound. Bai Yi looked at the magic shield calmly. The slightest cracks have begun to appear on it. You have to act quickly. It looks like this magic shield won't last long. Bai Yi murmured, found the direction of the cabin, and walked straight away. Several corpses can be seen on the road, and they must have died on the way here. In the past, Bai Yi would definitely not miss the opportunity to touch the corpse, but now time waits for no one, and the most important thing is to be a wanderer. Pushing open the cabin door and walking inside, what you see is one room after another, 5 in total. Opening the first one, there was a mess inside. There was a corpse lying on the ground, with both hands holding a knife stuck in the stomach. Suicide. Bai Yi was thoughtful, without the slightest surprise. The wanderers in this game are real lives. They wander in the dark land, surrounded by endless despair and fear. Suicide is an extremely normal thing. Even in the previous life, many people did not dare to face reality after darkness fell and committed suicide. After glancing at it, Bai Yi quickly groped around the room. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything valuable. Bai Yi shook his head and continued to the second room. There were also 2 corpses inside, they looked like a couple. But there was a necklace on the table in the room, which made Bai Yi's eyes light up. He hurriedly walked over, took the necklace in his hand and looked at it. Magic necklace. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Magic equipment is made of special metals and materials. After wearing it, the magic recovery speed increases by 50%. Close black lens bracket. Tisk, tisk, what a good thing. After reading the introduction, Bai Yi looked happy and immediately equipped it on the character. Although it cannot directly enhance combat power, the magic recovery speed is not weaker than directly enhancing combat power, and can greatly enhance Bai Yi's battery life. Leaving the room, Bai Yi continued to explore. In the third room, as soon as Bai Yi opened the door, he heard a roar and a monster rushed towards him. Kisame. Bai Yi dodged the attack and saw the monster clearly. It is humanoid, with fish scales all over its body, a ghost-like face, and a blue body with a thick tail on its back. It is wet and looks scary. This is one of the monsters in the deep sea. It is a variant of the fish man. Its strong body gives it powerful combat capabilities. Unfortunately, as a monster, it is destined to be irrational. I don't know how this Kisame appeared on the ship. There were several corpses in the room, so it must be its masterpiece. Roar. At this moment, it roared again and rushed towards Bai Yi, waving its claws, which were sharp enough to tear metal. Bai Yi had no intention of resisting, so he continued to dodge, and then waved his staff. With a buzzing sound, an arcane missile condensed and hit Kisame on the head. The powerful impact blasted Kisame directly away and hit him hard in the distance. However, it did not kill him madly. Instead, it aroused its anger and fell into a complete rage. After roaring, it swung its tail and swept forward, shattering the walls of the room wherever it passed. But Bai Yi is agile and very fast, so he can easily dodge. Let me see how long you can hold it. With a sneer, Bai Yi released another arcane missile. With a bang, Kisame was blown away again. He still wanted to get up, but the next moment, the third arcane missile condensed. The considerable power made Kisame unable to resist any longer. With a bang, his head shattered on the spot. Being able to withstand the third arcane missile before dying is enough to show Kisame's strength, which means that Bai Yi is stronger. Coming to the body, Bai Yi stretched out his hand and wiped it. The collection is successful. You have obtained Kisame's Scuba X1 and Kisame's Fang X1. Close black lens bracket. Bai Yi opened his backpack, clicked on the instructions and read it, then curled his lips slightly. The effects are average. Belongs to garbage. Shaking his head, Bai Yi began to search the room. In the room, Bai Yi found a box of fruit wine with an unknown name and a box of gold and silver with various patterns. Finally Bai Yi opened the desk and found a drawing in the desk drawer. Greenhouse drawings. Close black lens bracket. Greenhouse drawings. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. It can be used on the synthesis box. After use, materials can be put in to build a greenhouse blueprint for growing various plants. Close black lens bracket. Effect. One-time use. Close black lens bracket. It's actually a drawing, and it's a greenhouse drawing. Bai Yi looked surprised. This thing is very useful. Although you can build a greenhouse by yourself, compared to the one built from the drawings, it will obviously lack special attributes. The greenhouse is a necessary building after darkness falls because it can grow plants. In the early days of darkness, food may not be in short supply. But as long as it is for long-term considerations, food will be planted in advance. Although he didn't mention it much, Bai Yi had actually purchased the seeds of many plants and stored them. After putting away the drawings, there were no other valuable items in this room. Bai Yi could only leave and came to the fourth room. As soon as the door to the room was opened, a stronger smell of blood hit him. The next thing that came into view were corpses all over the ground. Blood flowed and dyed the ground red. A dying young man was waiting for death. Unexpectedly, the door to the room was opened and a human walked in. Looking at Bai Yi, there was a hint of shock in his pupils. So, is there really anyone alive? Bai Yi also heard the sound and found the young man in the direction. He came to him with surprise and squatted down, frowning. Be patient, I'll help you heal. After that, he activated the divine flame technique. The golden white flames emitted a warm light and enveloped the man. But unfortunately, the man's expression did not improve at all. His injuries were so severe that his abdomen was almost hollowed out, revealing a large hole. The wound tore open and spread towards the heart. With the healing effect of the divine flame technique, there was nothing he could do to save him. The man coughed up a mouthful of blood, grabbed Bai Yi's hand, and said excitedly, "No, leave me alone, outsider, I'm going to die and you can't save me. In contrast, please go and help her. She is in danger, she cannot die." "Who is she? Where is she?" Bai Yi asked quickly. "Ahem, she is in the innermost room, please go quickly, she is." The man wanted to tell Bai Yi specific information, but the injury was too serious, and before he could finish his words, he was already breathed out. Seeing this, Bai Yi looked helpless. Pity. A wanderer disappeared before his eyes. This feeling is equivalent to about 10 million cash floating away in front of you. Heartache. Fortunately, according to what the young man said, there might still be people alive on this ship. So Bai Yi took a deep breath, not daring to waste time, and controlled the character to get up. After leaving the room, he came to the deepest part. In front of him is the last room. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.